Okay, Algebra 2, today we are going to solve rational equations. And if you look at the top of the notes, it says there are two methods to solving rational equations. Method 1 is proportions. So you're going to condense each side into a proportion, then you're going to cross multiply and you're going to solve. That we've used before. And then there's a method 2, which is using a lowest common denominator. You're going to multiply each side of the equation with the least common denominator and then solve the resulting equation. Okay, you're going to want to just use proportions because we're going to start with that and you're going to say, oh, I know how to do this. But once we get into some higher numbers of exponents, you're not going to want to use proportions. So you're going to have to use method 2. So let's see how we can do this. Number 1. And then look what it says. Always remember to check your solutions. Okay, you got to check for those extraneous to make sure that there's no zeros on the bottom. Okay, so we got 7 over x minus 6 equals 4 over x. How can we solve this? We can solve it with method 1 using cross multiplication. So we can do this and we would get 7x equals 4 times x minus 6. And we get 7x equals 4x minus 24. And then solving, we get 3x equals negative 24. And x equals negative 8. And that's our answer. If you put that in, it works. Okay, let's look at number 2. Easy enough. 3 over a minus 8 equals 7 over 2a plus 1. Go ahead and cross multiply. We get 3 times 2a plus 1 equals 7 times a minus 8. Distribute. 6a plus 3 equals 7a minus 56. Solve. If I bring this over here, I get negative a equals negative 59. So a equals positive 59. And that's my answer. Okay, let's look at another one. Number 3. We've got r over r minus 1 equals 4 over r. That's yes. All right, so when we cross multiply, we get r times r, which is r squared, equals 4 times r minus 1. And when we distribute that, we get this. How in the world do you solve that? That's a quadratic. So you got to get everything on one side and set it equal to 0. And then you're going to factor. And you're going to say what multiplies to give you 4 and adds to give you negative 4. And you get that. And then you're going to solve each of these. And you get r equals 2. And r equals 2. They're the same answer. You only need one of them. Put it back in, make sure it works. Okay, let's look at number 4. M plus 3 over 3 equals 8 over m minus 2. Oh, look at this. When we cross multiply, we get m plus 3 times m minus 2 equals 24. 8 times 3. What in the world do we have to do there? We have to FOIL. So we get m squared plus 3m minus 2m minus 6. So we get m squared plus m minus 6 equals 24. How do we solve this? We have to have it equal to 0. So it becomes m squared plus m minus 30 equals 0. Now you can factor and say what multiplies to give you negative 30. Whoops. And adds to give you 1. This would be the plus and this would be the minus. You're going to solve each one of these. M plus 6 equals 0. So m equals negative 6. And m minus 5 equals 0, so m equals 5. Two answers. When we solve quadratics, we usually get two answers. We did over here. They just happen to be the same. All right, let's look at number 5. So far, not too bad, right? We're using method 1 so far. Y over 3 equals y plus 8 over y plus 5. So we're going to get y times y plus 5 equals 3 times y plus 8. Distribute, we get y squared plus 5y equals 3y plus 24. In order to solve a quadratic, we have to have everything on the same side. And I always want to bring it to the side where my squared is. You want your squared to be positive. It just makes life easier. And we get this. What multiplies to give you 24 and adds to give you 2? 6 and 4 plus minus y plus 6 equals 0, so y equals negative 6, and y minus 4 equals 0, so y equals 4. So we got our two answers right there. All right, let's look at number 6. 2x minus 3 over 2 equals 3 over x plus 4. Ooh, this one doesn't look very fun, does it? We have to FOIL. So when we FOIL this side, we're going to get 2x squared minus 3x plus 8x minus 12. So we get 2x squared plus 5x minus 18 equals 0. That's a minus 18. How do we solve this? Well, we can do that technique where we bring the 2 over here. So we get x squared plus 5x minus 36. And we say what multiplies to give me negative 36 and adds to give me 5. That will probably be 9 and 4 plus and minus. But now we multiplied by 2, so we have to divide by 2. So this becomes 2x plus 9 times x minus 2 equals 0. And now we do this. And we get x equals negative 9 halves and x equals 2. And those are our two answers to number 6. All right, let's move on to number 7. We're going to do method number 2 now. Okay, we've got 4/3 minus 7 over n equals 1/6. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the denominator and see and get a common denominator for every single denominator here. We've got 3, n, and 6. What's the common denominator between those? It would be 6n. So what we're going to do, I'm going to rewrite my problem. If you look back at the beginning, it says multiply each side of the equation by the least common denominator. So we're going to multiply this side by 6n and this side by 6n. And we're not going to worry about our and see what we get. So when we do this, let's distribute the 6n to this. So we get 24n over 3, and then we get 42n over n, and over here we get 6n over n. 6, I'm sorry. I don't know why I wrote n. 6n over 6. And now we're going to reduce each of these. This becomes 8n, this becomes 42, and this becomes n. See what I did right there? 3 goes into 24 8 times. The n's can cancel, the 6's can cancel, and now I'm left with this, and I can solve this equation, and I get 7n equals 42, or n equals 6. And that's my answer. Okay? You could have combined the 4/3 and the 7n into one proportion and did cross multiplying here, and this one wouldn't have been terrible. But like I said, when we get into some more complicated ones, it's going to be way easier to do it this way. So let's look at number 8. We have 3 over k minus 1/2 equals 12 over k. So we're going to look at all our denominators. Our denominators are k, 2, and k, and the common denominator there is going to be 2k. So we're going to multiply this side by 2k and this side by 2k. And this becomes 6k over k minus 2k over 2 equals 24k over k. We're going to reduce those. To this, and then solve it, and we get k equals negative 18. Okay, let's look at a more complicated one. Number 9. P over p minus 2 plus 2 equals 8 over p squared minus 4. So we got to look at all the denominators. Okay, our denominator here is p minus 2. What's our denominator here? 1. What's our denominator here? It is p minus 2, p plus 2. So what's going to be our common denominator here? P minus 2, p plus 2. Or p squared minus 4. Okay, it's probably going to be easier to write it like this. So we're going to multiply this side by p squared minus 4 and this side by p squared minus 4. Over here, when we distribute this, we get p times p squared minus 4 over p minus 2 plus 2 times p squared minus 4 over 1 equals 8 times p squared minus 4 over p squared minus 4. Now we're going to reduce. Okay, well, those are going to cancel, and that's going to become 8. This just becomes 2p squared minus 8. I just distributed that. And this, remember that this can be written as p minus 2, p plus 2. So those are going to cancel, and this is going to be p times p plus 2. So let's solve this. We're going to distribute this and get p squared plus 2p plus 2p squared minus 8 equals 8. So we get 3p squared plus 2p minus 16 equals 0. And we got to do this thing, p squared plus 2p minus 16 times 3 is 48. And we're going to say what multiplies to give you 48 and adds to give you negative 48 and adds to give you 2. That's going to be 6 and 8. This one's going to be plus. This one's going to be minus. We got to divide by a 3. I'm going to go up here. And so it becomes p minus 2 times 3p plus 8. And when we go ahead and solve this, we're going to get p equals 2 and p equals -8/3. But look what happens if p equals 2. Way back up here, if we put a p equals 2 in, we get a 0 in the denominator there and there, so that one doesn't work. And only p equals -8/3 work. That's what you got to watch out for. Okay, let's look at number 10. That'll be fun. We've got 13 over 3w minus 3 minus 1 over w minus 1 equals w over 9. All right, if we look at this right here, we can write it like that. So looking at all the three denominators, it looks like the common denominator is going to be 9 times w minus 1. That's the common denominator right there. So we're going to multiply this times 9 times w minus 1 and this side times that. So this becomes, when we distribute this, it's going to be 13 times 9. Okay, I'm going to write it like this. It's going to be 9 times w minus 1 times 13 over 3 times w minus 1 minus 1 times that, which is 9 times w minus 1 over w minus 1 equals 9w times w minus 1 over 9. And then we got to cancel things. Okay, those cancel. 3 goes into there 3 times. So this is 3 times 13, which is 39, minus 9 equals w times w minus 1. And now we just go ahead and solve this. 39 minus 9 is 30 equals w squared minus w. We want it all set equal to 0. I'm going to bring the 30 over here because I like my w squareds to be positive. And I'm going to get w minus 6 equals 0, or w equals 6, and w plus 5 equals 0, or w equals -5. And let's look to see if we put those in, are we going to get any kind of zeros in the bottom? And we don't. So we have 2 answers for this one. Let's look at number 11. 2 more. We've got x plus 6 over x plus 3 equals 2 minus 5x plus 12 over x plus 3. Okay, what's our this we can write like that. What's our common denominator? It's just going to be x plus 3. So we're going to multiply this side by x plus 3 and this whole side by x plus 3. So when we distribute this, I'm not going to FOIL it. I'm just going to leave it as x plus 3 times x plus 6 over x plus 3 equals 2 over x plus 3 over 1 minus 5x plus 12 times x plus 3 over x plus 3. Don't FOIL them out because look, things are going to cancel. This becomes x plus 6. This just becomes, I'm going to distribute it, 2x plus 6. And this becomes this. Don't forget that this negative has to go to both of those. So we get x plus 6 equals 2x plus 6 minus 5x minus 12. And let's put all our like terms together. Okay, we get x plus 6 equals negative 3x minus 6. So this becomes 4x equals negative 12, and x equals negative 3. But look what happens. What happens if we put a negative 3 in there? We get a 0 in the denominator. So this doesn't work, and there is no solution to this problem. Okay, one more, number 12. 3c minus 2 over c squared minus 4c equals c over c minus 4 minus 1. So we got to think of a common denominator. Well, that the denominator there is 1. If we took a c out of this, we would get c minus 4. So that's going to be our common denominator, c times c minus 4. So we're going to multiply this side by c times c minus 4, and this side times c minus 4. We can write it like that, or we can write it as c squared minus 4c, whichever makes most sense to you. Okay, so on this side, we get c times c minus 4 times 3c minus 2, and I'm going to write my denominator like that, equals c times c minus 4 over c minus 4 minus c times c minus 4 over 1, and see what we can do. Those can cancel, those can cancel. We get 3c minus 2 equals c times c minus c times c minus 4. Now we just have to get like terms together. Don't forget this becomes minus c squared plus 4c, because this is negative c times negative 4. Look at this. Those cancel, and we get 3c minus 2 equals 4c. So negative 2 equals c. And let's look to see what happens if we put a negative 2 in there. Does anything happen? Nope. So that's our answer. So that is how we are going to solve rational equations.